Welcome, dear listeners, to Military Matters Explained, the podcast where we demystify complex defense questions. I'm Miss Nari, and today we're tackling a fascinating and somewhat controversial question that's been circulating in military enthusiast circles, particularly concerning Southeast Asian defense capabilities. It's a question that pits two very different pieces of military hardware against each other. Can Cambodia's PHL-03 multiple launch rocket system attack Thailand's F-16 fighter jets? To help us navigate the technicalities and operational realities, I'm joined once again by our esteemed expert, Teacher Narith.
Thank you, Miss Nari. It's a pleasure to be back. And you're right, this question is intriguing because it highlights a common misunderstanding about the specific roles and capabilities of different military assets. On the surface, it sounds like a straightforward query, but the answer requires a deep dive into the fundamental design, purpose, and operational doctrines of both the PHL-03 and the F-16. We're talking about comparing a powerful ground-based artillery system with a sophisticated air superiority fighter, which are, frankly, designed for entirely different domains of warfare.
Indeed. Let's start by breaking down each system individually. Teacher Narith, can you elaborate on what exactly the PHL-03 is? What is its primary function and how does it operate? For many of our listeners, the acronym PHL-03 might not immediately conjure a clear image, so let's paint that picture.
Absolutely, Ms. Nari. The PHL-03, often referred to as a Type 03 MLRS in China, its country of origin, is a heavy multiple launch rocket system. Imagine a large truck, typically an 8x8 wheeled chassis, carrying a massive launcher with two pods, each housing 4 to 5 very large rockets. So in total, one PHL-03 system can unleash 8 to 10 rockets in a single volley. Its primary function is area saturation and sustained bombardment of ground targets. Think of it as a very powerful, long-range artillery piece that fires multiple unguided or terminally guided rockets in quick succession, rather than single shells. It's designed to suppress enemy positions, destroy concentrations of troops or vehicles, soften up defenses, or bombard airfields and logistics hubs from a significant distance. The rockets themselves can vary in type, from high-explosive fragmentation warheads that spread lethal shrapnel over a wide area, to fuel-air explosives that create immense overpressure, or even submunitions that scatter smaller bomblets to target armored formations. With an estimated maximum range for some variants reaching up to 130 kilometers or even more, it's a formidable asset for ground forces looking to project power deep behind enemy lines.
That paints a very clear picture of its destructive potential against ground targets. Now, let's pivot to the F-16 Fighting Falcon, which is a much more recognizable name to most. Teacher Narith, give us the rundown on this iconic aircraft. What makes the F-16 such a potent force in the skies, and what are its key capabilities that set it apart?
The F-16 Fighting Falcon is a legendary multi-role fighter jet, a true workhorse of numerous air forces worldwide, including Thailand's. It's a single-engine, supersonic aircraft known for its incredible versatility, speed, and agility. When we talk about capabilities, we're looking at a machine designed for air superiority, meaning engaging and defeating enemy aircraft, as well as precision ground attack. It can fly at speeds exceeding Mach 2, or twice the speed of sound, and operate at altitudes of up to 50,000 feet, which is roughly 15 kilometers, far above commercial airliners. Its avionics suite is highly advanced, featuring sophisticated radars that can detect targets hundreds of kilometers away, targeting pods for precision ground strikes, and a comprehensive electronic warfare system for self-protection. For armament, the F-16 carries a 20mm M61 Vulcan cannon for close-range engagements and can be equipped with a wide array of air-to-air missiles, such as the short-range AIM-9 Sidewinder and the beyond visual range AIM-120 AMRAAM, as well as an extensive arsenal of air-to-ground munitions, like laser-guided bombs, JDAMs, GPS-guided bombs, and Maverick missiles. In essence, it's a platform built for speed, precision, and survivability in a contested airspace, capable of both offense and defense across multiple mission profiles.
So we have a ground-based, long-range rocket artillery system on one side, designed to saturate wide areas on the ground, and on the other, a high-flying, supersonic, multi-role fighter jet. Now for the million-dollar question. Can the PHL-03 directly attack an F-16 fighter jet in the air? Given what you've described, my intuition says no, but let's hear the definitive expert answer and, crucially, the detailed explanation behind it.
The definitive answer, Ms. Nari, is a resounding no.
The PHL-03 simply cannot attack an F-16 in the air in any meaningful or effective way. To understand why, we need to consider several critical factors: trajectory, guidance, speed, altitude, and purpose.
Let's break those down one by one, Teacher Narith, starting with the trajectory and guidance systems. How do these fundamentally prevent a PHL-03 rocket from engaging an F-16?
Absolutely. Firstly, trajectory. PHL-03 rockets operate on a ballistic trajectory, similar to how a thrown object or an artillery shell behaves. They are launched at an angle, arc upwards, and then descend onto their target area due to gravity. Their flight path is predictable if you know the launch parameters and target coordinates. An F-16, on the other hand, flies a dynamic three-dimensional path. It can climb, dive, turn sharply, and accelerate or decelerate rapidly. A ballistic rocket, even if it could somehow be aimed at a specific point in the sky where an F-16 might be, has no ability to adjust its course to follow a fast-moving maneuvering target. It's like trying to hit a fly with a thrown baseball. You might get lucky if the fly stops, but the chances are astronomically low against a moving target.
And that leads directly to the issue of guidance, doesn't it? An F-16 is actively trying to avoid threats.
Exactly. This brings us to guidance. PHL-03 rockets are primarily unguided or utilize very rudimentary inertial guidance systems, sometimes augmented by GPS, but this guidance is for achieving precision against static ground targets. They lack any form of active or semi-active terminal guidance system, like radar or infrared seekers, that are essential for tracking and intercepting an aerial target. An air-to-air missile, or even a dedicated surface-to-air missile, possesses a seeker head that can see and lock onto the heat signature or radar reflection of an aircraft, and then autonomously guide itself to an intercept point. PHL-03 rockets have no such capability. They are essentially dumb projectiles once launched, aimed at a coordinate, not a moving object. So even if an F-16 were somehow to fly into the immediate flight path of a launched rocket, it would be an incredible fluke, not a deliberate attack through targeting.
Considering the F-16's speed and altitude, how do these factors further solidify the impossibility of a PHL-03 engagement?
This is another crucial point. F-16s operate at very high speeds and altitudes. As I mentioned, they can cruise over 50,000 feet. While PHL-03 rockets do reach significant altitudes at the apogee of their ballistic trajectory to achieve maximum range, their flight profile is optimized for horizontal reach against ground targets, not vertical interception. An F-16 would typically operate far above the effective engagement ceiling of these rockets, especially if it's not performing a very specific low-altitude ground attack run directly over the launcher. Furthermore, the F-16's speed makes it an incredibly difficult target. Even if a rocket sometime reached the F-16's altitude, the F-16 is moving at supersonic speeds, making it virtually impossible for an unguided, non-tracking rocket to catch or intercept it. The pilot would also be alerted to any potential ground threats via their radar warning receiver or other sensors, allowing evasive maneuvers if a launch was detected or even visually observed.
So it's clear that in a direct aerial engagement, the PHL-03 is simply not built for the task. But let's explore this from a different angle. Are there any highly unusual, indirect, or extremely improbable scenarios where an F-16 could theoretically be vulnerable to a PHL-03, even if it's not a direct attack in the traditional sense? I'm thinking about what-if scenarios, just to cover all bases and really deepen our understanding.
That's an excellent way to broaden the discussion, Ms. Nari, as it allows us to highlight the nuances and the stark difference between purpose-built systems and extreme edge cases. In the realm of military operations, never say never is often tempered with highly improbable. So let's consider those extremely unlikely what-if scenarios. The most conceivable, yet still incredibly remote, vulnerability would occur if an F-16 were performing an ultra-low altitude, unguided ground attack or reconnaissance pass directly over an active PHL battery at the precise moment a barrage is launched. Imagine the F-16 flying perhaps just a few hundred feet off the ground, within the initial ascent path of the rockets. In such a hyper-specific, almost fantastical coincidence, a rocket might strike the aircraft purely by chance. However, F-16s would almost certainly employ standoff weapons like JDAMs or Maverick missiles from much higher altitudes, or use advanced targeting pods to release guided munitions from a safe distance, making such a close, vulnerable pass over an active enemy MLRS battery an operationally unsound and highly improbable maneuver, bordering on pilot error of extreme magnitude. Another scenario, though not an attack on a flying F-16, would be if PHL-03s were used to bombard an airfield where F-16s are parked. This is a very real capability of MLRS to deny air bases or destroy aircraft on the ground. A PHL barrage on an enemy airbase could certainly damage or destroy F-16s if they are caught on the apron or runway. This targets the infrastructure and parked assets, not an airborne fighter, but it undeniably affects F-16 operations. This is a primary utility of long-range artillery against an air force, to suppress their ability to launch or recover aircraft. Then there's the scenario of collateral damage. If F-16s were engaging ground targets in the vicinity of a massive PHL barrage, and somehow by a sheer unbelievable stroke of bad luck, a stray rocket or significant debris from exploding rockets reached an F-16. But again, the chances of a direct hit from an unguided system designed for area effect on the ground against a highly maneuverable aircraft in the air are negligible. Pilots are trained to maintain situational awareness and avoid known threat zones.
That clarifies the distinction perfectly. So if the PHL-03 isn't an anti-aircraft system, what are the actual types of threats an F-16 would face in real combat scenarios? What kind of layered air defenses are designed to counter a sophisticated fighter jet like the F-16?
Excellent question, Ms. Nari. An F-16, when operating in a contested environment, faces a multitude of integrated, layered threats specifically designed to engage and destroy it. These include, firstly, other fighter jets. Modern air forces deploy their own F-16s, Su-27s, Gripens, or other advanced fighters armed with sophisticated air-to-air missiles and cannons, all designed for dogfighting and beyond visual range engagements. This is the primary air-to-air threat. Secondly, and perhaps the